Exactly. Basically, yeah. I mean, a couple of people got a gym. You can work out. Yeah, but we are very much promoting. I've done a number of streaming new work and kind of yeah, we talk. Yeah, it's me talking with the regular stream bar and we talk about somehow we could have actually really intense.
That looks like there's a bag. Someone is sitting close. Okay, Raina. These people say that there are two
Yeah. Are you one of the people who is authorized to sit in those seats? Okay. I think they are looking at staying out of that as far as possible. I do not want to be involved in that. Apparently we're looking some looking at a space on somewhere, but haven't heard anything about that in months, so it's a challenge to find a space that also has office space and that will also be there is one thing New York does not have on it. We try. For a number of years, we had like a long-term which makes me they still have not even bothered to do their stuff. As far as I can tell, it's still there.
you have your seats.
Make sure the bags are not in the aisle Let me get mine.
It's probably too late just because I know everybody do take us to the market. And interesting. Yeah. No, I haven't set this up to take a single invoice, so
for this opening video, but it's over. So welcome everybody. Good evening and welcome to New York Theater Bar's 15th season of our award-winning New Work series. I'm Joe Barros and I'm the Artistic Director of New York Theater Bar.
And I'm Kimberly Lara, Associate Producer of New York Theater Bar and line producer for our New Work series.
So welcome to the Cell, one of our favorite artistic homes, and tonight we are live with an intimate audience here at the Cell, plus a virtual global audience. So hi to everybody at home.
Since today is Indigenous Peoples Day, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that this beautiful performance venue sits on the occupied land of the Munsee Lenape people.
Manhattan is an interpretation of a word in the Munsee dialect meaning Mannahatta, or hilly island. Many Lenape died from diseases brought by the European settlers because their bodies hadn't developed any immunity or resistance to them. By the early 1700s, those Lenape who survived the effects of European arrival were forced to move away from Manhattan.
We invite you to reflect upon and acknowledge the indigenous peoples of the land that you live, work, and breathe on. The land that provides you with shelter, nutrient, care, and love, and that you love too. These may also be the lands that your people claim and that your peoples journey from.
For the past 15 years, New York Theater Bar has created an inclusive home for original culture-shifting musicals during incubation. Since 2007, we've been providing space, funding, and a safe opportunity for underrepresented artists and audiences to experiment in front of live, I'm reading a line from our grant and I'm forgetting it incorrectly. I need to just look at my script because I set it up. For the past 15 years, New York Theater Bar, I used to be an actor, has created an inclusive home for original culture-shifting musicals during incubation. Since 2007, we've been providing space, funding, and a safe opportunity for underrepresented artists to experiment in front of live audiences, often for the first time, like tonight. We believe that there's no formula for musical theater except authenticity. This past summer, New York Theater Bar launched Barn on Fire, a new summer residency on Fire Island for original musicals in development. Barn on Fire is a collaboration with the Fire Island Pines Arts Project and our dear friend from Straighten Your Crown Productions, Nicola Fontaine, who's here tonight, and Tony Award-winning Director Choreographer Jerry Mitchell, who serves as mentor to the lab and its writers.
Later this fall, NYTV's imprint of Broadway Records, Theater Barn Records, will release a concept EP of Sueños, Our American Musical, and a compilation album called New Musicals Mixtape, which will include songs from 6 new musicals.
In 2017, we produced a developmental production of the new musical Sam's Room with our friends here at the Cell, and over the next year we'll continue that collaboration. Sam's Room is inspired by real stories of non-speaking teens who find a way to communicate. We'll collaborate with the Cell to create a week-long community-focused residency for the writers of Sam's Room to explore the non-speaking role of Sam through the participation of multiple disabled and non-disabled artists. Celebrating disabled artists without seeing disability as a monolith, the residency will explore how various forms of communication may inform clarity in the non-speaking, non-verbal, verbal, physical, and musical storytelling in the show. The writers also have a relationship with Bennett Key, a 21-year-old non-speaking, non-verbal man with Joubert syndrome, and his family through a program facilitated by the Foster Schmidt Dance Academy for Down Syndrome in Atlanta. The writers also plan to use this time to continue collaborating with Bennett and his family as a writing partner on the show, with the goal of making the writing team more inclusive. We'll document the residency and release it as a virtual presentation that we broadcast to a global audience. And I'd also like to say that right when we did that developmental production, the show was hot and fresh off of a presentation by the National Alliance for Musical Theater, of which we're about to have that amazing festival over the next few weeks.
Last week, in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, we presented the Musicals de Mañana, a concert at 54 Below featuring songs from some of the most thrilling and influential Latinx musical theater writers on the rise. A huge shout out to New York Theater Barn's own Hector Flores Jr. for curating and producing that event with me, and New York Theater Barn's managing director, Kate Tremble.
We're almost to the fun part. So tonight we'll take you inside the blueprint of 3 original musicals currently in development. We'll present a short excerpt of each show followed by a conversation with the writers. We found that speaking in community with musical theater writers and their creative teams inevitably deepens the understanding of what a musical is and can be, and celebrates the unique process that goes into creating each original story.
Tonight's performers, creatives, and audience members are fully vaccinated, and our audience remains masked while in the building. Since performers, creatives, and your Theater Brunch staff members have undergone testing protocols, they will have the choice to remain masked or unmasked during tonight's presentation. The safety of our artists and audience is of the utmost importance to us.
And in our commitment to accessibility and inclusion, we're dedicated to including ASL interpreters for live performances, among other disability inclusion practices. We're grateful to have interpreters here with us tonight from Inclusive Communication Services. Now let's get started.
Yes, our first musical of the night is Work. Work has book and lyrics by Parade Stone and music by Sequoia Salinger. Yes, when Sydney, a sales associate at an upscale grocery store with abandoned aspirations of being a politician, receives a job offer in politics, she finds herself at a crossroads. Should she stay at her unfulfilling survival job until she finds a new passion, or can she reignite her now delusioned passion for politics? Flip. Work is a new musical about a woman's journey from pursuing her passion for politics to leaving the field altogether in favor of a more ethical path. The trouble is, she has no idea what ethical looks like under late-stage capitalism.
Work is being developed by creative producer Victoria Dietrich, and tonight's presentation features music direction by Sequoia Salinger and performances by Anna Paloma and Lauren Scales. Here is Work.
Everything's good. Hi, thanks for being here. So just to give a little context for the song we're going to start with, now that we've heard that little synopsis, so at this moment, Sydney, that's Lauren, has received the job offer, and she doesn't know if she wants to get back into politics because she feels very traumatized by her past experiences, so this is her trying to like sort out what she wants to do.
After all the work I've done, open internships, free labor, another
but I'm not 18 anymore. At least here I can pay my bills and figure out my next step.
You know, Isaac Newton defined inertia as a resistance to change by persevering in the present. I'm trying to be a teacher. My point is, maybe your resistance has something to do with self-preservation, your need to persevere.
Maybe. 5. I don't want to lose her. The version of myself that stood for something. The system would abuse her. And chaos keeps going and going. I wish that I was hopeful. Maybe I can find myself again someday. 5 reasons I can't take this job, or more excuses to stay.
This next moment, we are in Sydney's memory, where she's being confronted with just a difficult situation. The senator was her mentor, and she looked up to her, and then she finds out the senator was shadier than she thought. Anna's the senator.
Sydney, you have to understand. If this gets out, that's it for me. You know how this goes, all eyes on me. The first generation in my family tree. You know how this goes, always something to prove. The public is watching my every move. I made history. You know how this goes. This could be you. The representation of something new. You know how this goes. You want this life. A woman of color, overcoming strife, will make history. Sydney, we already have. The state has never had a Latina senator, and you have been integral to this team, this journey.
I know. You made me feel like politics and public service could actually make a difference.
It can. It still can. It's just the brutal truth. Sometimes I have to think from a more tactical perspective.
And maybe you'll compromise your values, but I won't. I have to say something.
Please don't be the reason they stop trusting me. It's bigger than one problem, one mistake I couldn't foresee. Please don't be the reason our work falls apart. We came this far already. Don't break your own heart. There's no loophole. You know in your soul one scandal and we're done. Trust me, I'll make you see our work has just begun. This is our dream. Together we'll
about women, written by women. That's awesome. I first met Parade because I got to choreograph a production of The Light in the Piazza at a high school with Victoria Clark's son as Signor Nacarelli. Parade was Franca, and the best one in the cast. Parade and Sequoia, how did you come to collaborate on this project together?
Well, we went to college together, but we weren't actually, that's not kind of how it happened.
Yeah, we met at an after party at Ars Nova at Antfest, and Parade was like, I'm organizing this cabaret, I've never written a song before, but I'm a playwright, I want to write a song. And I was like, great, let's write a song.
Yes.
And
I mean, I just like gave her a poem and she made it work, you know what I mean?
and this was like 7 years ago. And then
we were like, we want to write a musical, and we tried to write something and we hated it, and then, I don't know.
oh, you gave me a prompt, you were like, I need just one word, let's write a song about it. And I said, easy bake oven and scary housewives. That's not what this show is about anymore! But it used to how it started.
Awesome. While I'm asking this next question, did you want to take a look at this mic? Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. So I'm going to do that. Here we go. Work was previously called The History of Traders According to Sydney. How did you come up with the concept for the show, and how has it evolved to become Work?
Well, first it was called Recipe for a Sellout.
It's had a couple names.
And then History of Traders. And then
Yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of dream sequences, and so originally we were kind of playing with different tropes of what is expected of women, this sort of housewives, or these sort of girl bosses. Like, it's gone through many iterations of what womanhood is. But in this version, we kind of settled on no matter what, well, that's okay, I can project. We sort of settled on this idea of like maintaining your personhood and taking care of yourself in a work setting in late stage capitalism as like women, as women of color, and how work sometimes feels like it defines you, but really like you define you is kind of why we ended up on Work as opposed to anything else a little. I don't know, it just felt like that's where it came down to.
yeah, and there's a song, like, I think, at least my favorite song in the whole show is called Work.
Yes.
So I think
It's
in my
called
brain I was like, why isn't that just the name of this show?
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. And like I said, you are totally a team of women. You're working with producer Victoria Dietrich on the project. Woo!
Yeah.
When did Victoria join the team, and what has the process been like?
Come on. Yeah. Discuss.
Hi. Well, we all work in the arts, and when a friend invites you to a show, you don't really expect much except supporting your friend. I had gone to their first iteration, and I went there, and I was wow, this is really, really good, and I want to help support it. And I was just beginning my producing career, and Reid and I have a long-standing relationship, and we work really well collaboratively. So I said, can I help you get it to the next steps? And it's been a few years, 4 years now. I was accepted into the Schubert Artistic Circle initiative, which is meant to help 5 BIPOC producers. And they gave us support, and they let us do a developmental reading, because the issue with the arts is that we have all these ingredients. It's kind of like a soup. You have all the ingredients. If you don't let it simmer, it's never going to have flavor, and musicals take forever. So we just needed space and time, and we don't get enough of that. So having situations such as this, it actually allows the flavor to become more complex and unpack itself, right? Yeah, so it's been it's been a long journey, and it's going to continue to be a long journey, but it's figuring out what are we actually trying to say with every iteration. And I think we're finally at the point where oh, we're just telling this one story about what it means to be a woman of color navigating your values in this world.
Yeah.
Speaking of the process, you just did a reading. What did you learn from that reading?
Oh my god. I mean, we wrote the show in a month. It was pretty crazy.
Up until the day before.
I think for me, developmentally, I really learned that an antagonist has to have just as much nuance and complexity as a protagonist, and that's what makes it interesting. And the senator character was sort of originally just a sort of one-note villain, and then we thought about, well, wouldn't it be more interesting if we thought about her as just like a person that was just trying to get ahead in the world when she had all of these disadvantages and thought what she had to do was, you know, compromise some values for like the greater good, you know? And so I think we're put in those situations more than we realize. Like I have to do something a little sketchy, but it's because, and then it sort of spirals and then it goes out of control. So that was what I think I got the most, was just like, how do we have an antagonist and a protagonist that are just as sort of rich and interesting, you know? Yeah, that's, I don't know, musically was their different journey.
Parade summed it up. Lastly, what's next for the show? Or is it literally just you're waiting for somebody out here to take you to the next level?
Yeah, honestly.
Talk about my business cards if you want. Yeah, next steps, I think we are just going to go back to like a workshop helps you figure out what needs to be worked out, right? Mm-hmm. So the next step is, what is the next draft and what do we see for what's the trajectory of the next draft? And I think we're taking it day by day.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's give All right, our second new musical tonight is The End of All Flesh, written by two-time Tony Award-winner Greg Kotis. The End of All Flesh is a rollicking post-apocalyptic tale set on a remote mountaintop sometime in America's distant future. Having made it through the end times, Ma and Pa fight to keep themselves and their son Boy alive by hunting, gathering, and maintaining a healthy distrust of strangers. But Boy's near grown now, and his new friend Girl is putting some mighty fun ideas in his head about familial hierarchies and the patriarchy. The new musical explores environmental collapse, gender norms, generation gaps, survivalist practices, and the creative potential of a pandemic beard in song. Sounds like a Tony Award-winning writer wrote that description. Tonight's presentation features performances by Anne Halliday, Avery Rose Fidel, Sammy Piñolosa, and Greg Kotis himself. Musicians joining us tonight are Hillary Hawk and Eric Alvar. This will be the first time that the work is presented in New York City, and now, as soon as we're ready, here is the beginning of The End of All Flesh.
We have to tune, I've learned. So hang on. Does anybody know any stories or any jokes while we tune? Sorry, everybody. This will only take about 25 minutes. That's a Tony Trishka joke. Yeah? What do you think? In tune? All right. I'm gonna turn my phone off, I guess.
I like your cat.
Huh?
I like your cat.
Oh yeah, well. Very good. Okay. Thank you. Yes, here we go.
The End of All Flesh, Scene 1. The porch and front yard of a dilapidated mountain homestead. Pa, a taciturn, heavily bearded, middle-aged man, sits on a porch plucking out a tune on his banjo. A shotgun rests beside him. Ma, his sturdy, cheerful wife, enters dragging the carcass of a wild boar stuck with multiple arrows.
Well, hello there, folks, and welcome to the show. Y'all have had quite a time over the past few years, from what I understand. Well, to tell you the truth, we've had quite a time ourselves, ain't that so, Pa?
Yep.
You see, we're talking to you from the future. Your future. Or maybe not your future necessarily, but the world of your great-great, or possibly even your great-great-great-grandchildren. I've lost track of time generation-wise, but no matter. Suffice it to say that we're from the future. And the future? Well, it ain't no bed of roses, I can tell you that.
Nope.
So being from the future, we figured we'd give you a glimpse or two of what's to come.
Through song.
Some song, mostly talk.
Then y'all can talk about it later. The future, that is.
What will become of the children that you bear, and of the world with all its creatures everywhere? What will become of humankind in years ahead? Should you feel hopeful about the future?
Or preoccupied with dread.
I'm Ma. I make most things run around here. That there's Pa, he's the patriarch. And yes, the patriarchy's in full swing, even in the future. It turns out when society collapses, ancient ways reassert themselves. Ain't that so, Pa?
I got a gun. That makes me patriarch. That and my genitalia.
We got the answers to the questions on your mind.
We've got the lowdown on the fate of humankind.
We thank you kindly for attending this here show, but will you thank us for the telling of this story?
We don't know.
'Cause it's a post-apocalyptical prognosticative tale that transpires after crises of unprecedented scale, like the ecologic meltdown that you probably expect, 'cause the impact of your presence on the planet
went unchecked.
A series of meltdowns, to be precise, generation after generation, until we finally arrived here in the future.
It's a lot of work.
Oh, it sure is, Pa. No technology.
No electricity.
No indoor plumbing.
We use a latrine.
Turns out the future has more in common with the past than it does the present. Your time. Because your time?
Y'all had electricity.
This here's the homestead where we struggle to survive.
A mountain stronghold where we fight to stay alive.
We hunt and gather like the cavemen used to do.
We are a self-sufficient, off-the-grid, outdoorsy sort of crew.
Entirely unwired, you might say. We're like people from the Bible, like Noah and his clan, living on a mountaintop, like how folks lived before the age of even ancient history began.
But we're talking about the future now, not the past.
Here's how humanity will make its final stand.
We hope you like the show, the actors, and the band.
And if you find this tale too foolish or too cruel, you can leave, but we will keep your cash.
No refunds is the rule.
'Cause it's a post-apocalyptical, prophetic sort of play that takes place long after some forgotten global judgment day, where the final folks who walk the earth devise a final scheme to revitalize our species. At least that is the dream.
Boy, a strapping young man enters carrying a bow, arrows, and a bucket of water.
I got your water.
This here's Boy. He's our son.
My heir.
He does a lot of the heavy lifting around here.
Hey, can I go see my lady now?
That girl ain't no lady.
Is lady enough for me?
You do your labors, then we can talk about your lady.
I already hunting and gathered. What else I gotta do?
You define the patriarchy, boy.
What good are you? Plucking your banjo all the live long day while Ma and I do all the work.
I do the work of governance.
Governance.
I tell y'all what to do. That's governance.
You run along now, son. I'll tend to the hog.
I won't be governing like you when it's my time. I can tell you that much.
Keep talking.
Ain't gonna be no patriarchy neither. Going to be gender equality.
Keep talking and I'll wash your mouth out with buckshot.
I said don't run along.
That girl's been putting ideas in his head.
Well, they're young, Pa, governed by their gonads as much as anything.
Nothing like gonads to get you in a heap of trouble.
Conrad's got you in trouble with me once upon a time.
Best trouble I ever got into.
And you still got trouble, far as I can tell.
I'll take it, as long as I'm taking it with you.
Oh, Paul.
You and me survived the last days of the end times. We cleared out them drifters what were occupying this here abode when first we stumbled upon it, gentrified it into our own mountain sanctuary, then raised a family in it.
That we did.
Who'd have thunk it'd be us surviving this long? We come from artists and intellectuals if you go back far enough.
It's still in our blood somewhere.
But our line devolved over the generations, collapsing as society collapsed, forcing our forefathers and foremothers to retreat from the cities and the towns until we became the survivalist caricatures y'all see today.
Must have been nice being artistic and intellectual.
Nice? It was a catastrophe.
Now, Pa, don't you go down talking progressivism again.
Them progressives is what brought us to this point of poverty and degradation. I'll down talk them all I want.
I suppose you will.
How do you imagine mankind endured long enough to get to the point where their idea of progress is even possible?
I'm guessing you'll be telling us.
By adhering to a few simple rules, that's how. Woman, obey your man. Boy, respect your father. Don't waste food. And whatever you do, don't go changing gender norms.
Those would be the rules.
I know you think it's hateful to admire ancient days, back when human interactions were prescribed by ancient ways. The roles we had to play were predetermined and would last to the day we died. That's how the world was run back in the past. I believe those ways were good, though you think they're a sham. So if ancient ways are hateful, well then hateful's what I am, hateful.
Now, Pa, you ain't hateful. Not that hateful anyway.
Not to you maybe, but to them?
I can't speak for them.
It's a hate born of insecurity, because deep down they know they are in conflict with their essential nature.
Oh, I'm too busy battling regular nature to take on my own.
In prehistoric times, our species struggled to survive and evolved some simple principles that helped mankind to thrive. Since women had the memories, they tended to the home, while the men folk went out hunting, which required them to roam. Like predatory lions, not a gentle little lamb. If you think a lion's hateful, well then hateful's what I am. Oh, that's the way we lived for tens of thousands of years, till the scientific age brought revolution. Science brought us freedom and an ocean of tears, because while our joys began to swell, our population did as well, which turned our heaven into hell despite our efforts to dispel the laws of evolution.
So you're saying progressivism led to overpopulation?
I'm saying progressivism was the final fatal delusion that put them last few nails in the coffin of humanity.
Sounds like you're the one who's deluded. But how would I know? I'm deluded too!
And so we come to your time when progressive people ruled, and the appetites for ancient ways of socializing glowed. At first things were amazing, everybody was carefree, but in time those changing gender norms led to catastrophe. You can trust me, you can doubt me, I don't give a damn. Either way you'll think I'm hateful, because hateful's what I am. For those ancient ways I'm grateful, and so hateful is what I am.
You keep talking about catastrophe and hatefulness, and you might just end up frightening these good people away.
Good.
They're paying customers. bummers, ain't they?
Yeah, I suppose they are.
And they all just lived through some of the worst years humanity has ever known. So maybe we can ease up a spell on progressive complicity and catastrophe and whatnot.
I suppose we can, for now.
I tell you what, you haul this hog on over to the smokehouse, hang her up beside the other meats, and fetch up some more hickory to fuel the affair. For my part, I'll get to work fixing up a feast fit for a king. 'Cause that's what you are to me, honey darling, a king.
And you're my queen.
Now run along, the day'll slip away if we're not careful, as will the attention of our audience.
It's a lot of work holding their attention.
Well, I suppose I should be running along too. Always lots of work to be done around a post-apocalyptic homestead, ain't that so, Pa?
Yep.
And y'all should be running along as well to the next scene.
Got another character to meet.
So, without further ado, we take you now to a riverside a few hours hence, where our boy finds himself cavorting with that as-yet unmet character.
My exits. Light shift, and we find ourselves at
Scene 2, the river. Boy and girl, a sinewy, wise beyond her years young woman, crouched beside a fish, watching it flop on the shore, breathing its last.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
The finality of death.
The great beyond.
The undiscovered country.
The eternal void.
I loves you, boy.
And I loves you.
It's the only antidote, really, for the horrors of existence. Love.
Yeah.
And this little fella, why, he's traveling into the worst of the horrors even as we speak. Flying at warp speed or pausing with unbearable stillness into the mystery.
May God grant him safe passage.
If there is a God.
And may the spirit of this fella forgive us for eating the flesh we so recently liberated from that same spirit.
If he had a spirit.
Nice catch, though.
It's easily done. You just gather a mess of sticks and arrange them in a gently but steadily moving body of water to make a primitive fish trap, also known as a weir. This fish swims in and can't swim out. Then you grab the fish and toss it to the shore where you wait quietly while it breathes its last.
Good source of protein.
With a bit of wildcrafting and a tasty dish to boot.
Wildcrafting?
The practice of gathering edible and/or medicinal plants, herbs, and assorted fungi what grow in the wild.
Oh, also known as foraging. Okay.
Some of what you forage can cure you, some can kill you, and some offer that particular punch what can turn an otherwise flavorless fish into a feast fit for a queen. Like your mom.
Oh, she is pretty special.
We should bring him to her as a gift.
Well, my pa might have something to say about that.
He don't like me much, it's true.
It's the patriarchy. He's invested in the patriarchy is all. It's the system which allows him to shirk work by plucking his banjo all the livelong day.
My pa was like that, from what I hear.
What happened to him?
I'd rather not talk about it if you don't mind. If we were to make good on our vows to each other, we'll need peace amongst the interested parties, including your pa.
I just figured we'd run off when we're ready.
Run off?
Yeah, what, with me and my bow and arrows and you with your assorted fishing and foraging skills? I just figured we'd find our way in the world, like the previous least did.
Oh boy, You don't know much about what's become of the world down there now, do you?
Well, I came to these mountains as a baby, so no, I never know nothing but these mountains.
I begun my days up here as well, to hear tell also as a baby, but was forced to venture out into the world for reasons unknown, strapped to my auntie like a little bundle, only to return years later as the full package, where, while foraging, I first set eyes on you.
Best day of my life.
Sleek, strong, tan, tight, giving chase to some truffle-belly boar you'd already stuck, and then felling it with a final shot right to the jugular.
And I have felled many boars since in exactly the same fashion.
I saw that little dance of death, and I said to myself, girl, what we have here is marrying material.
Well, let's marry up then, here and now. The forest can be our tabernacle. The birds can be our witnesses. And the wind can lead the ceremony. And then we can just head down the mountain to take on the world. I mean, how bad could it be down there?
Oh, it's bad, boy. It's bad down there. It's bad as a world can be, for the atmosphere is aflame with heat that afflicts both land and sea.
That is bad.
Remember how that Bible flood submerged the world with rain. Instead of rain, there is endless heat to undo the world again.
So everything is just dead down there?
Not everything. Sturdy animals with high thresholds of pain still roam and rage across the blighted, sun-battered countryside. And people, well, some still live in that lightless landscape of sleeping by day and moving by night, and even what canned goods remain can be called living.
But way up here the air stays cool, so life can still resume.
While way down there, every man and beast must contend with pain and doom. So now we know it's bad down there. It's bad as a world can be. But as long as you occupy this world is a dream for me. The world down there ain't good for nothing. But this world, why, it's the perfect world to build a baby.
A baby?
If and we're to wed, ain't but a matter of time before we start building babies. And well, and them babies, they'll be sure to put our whole situation into a whole new situation.
A gender equality situation.
I'll teach you the ways of foraging and fishing, so yous can cares for me while I cares for the babies.
And then I'll cares for the babies once they're weaned, so yous can forage and fish in only the way that you knows how to do.
then I'll take my child care turns as I can, so yous can hunt and haul when it's pork meat we're wanting.
And in that way, we will remake the world, one baby at a time.
My love is like a river flowing down the mountainside, whose raging waters will deliver you to me, so I can be your bride.
My love is like a boat salmon swimming in that river blue, who has no cause to re-examine why I shouldn't soon become your groom. It's only natural and stimulating too, an elemental biological force that regulates all that we do. Our love has untold power, strong enough to change the world, and soon will come that fateful hour when a better world will be unfurled.
Are you prepared to make some problematic choices?
Yes, I'm prepared to make them, as long as you're beside me, to motivate and guide me. I listen to no other voices. We'll see the old world end, and then we'll make the world we need, and you will witness something splendid once our plan is able to proceed. It's only natural that we assume control, and as the rising generation, we must make equality our goal. Our love is like a fire burning off the dying wood, and once the smoke and flames expire, we'll plant seeds to grow a world that's good.
They kiss the end of this presentation.
Great work, everybody. All right, I would say that show is sort of like Urinetown, Three Penny Opera, and Bright Star Had a Baby. Would you say that's kind of right? Awesome. Let's give them one more round of applause. So, Greg. Yes. You are the Tony Award-winning book writer and co-lyricist of the beloved Broadway musical Urinetown. If your royalty checks aren't a reminder of that, I just wanted to remind you. You're also the co-writer of Yeast Nation, which is part of the trilogy of shows of which Urinetown is a part, and the play Pig Farm. Word on the street is you're working on a musical called Good Luck in Space that was intended to be the sequel to Urinetown, but isn't really anymore. I'm a huge fan of Urinetown, so it's thrilling to have you here tonight and to be able to lift up and support a new work that is the invention of your incredible and boundless imagination. I read that you got the idea for Urinetown while traveling in Europe. A traveling student on a budget, you encountered a pay-per-use toilet in France and began writing Urinetown with Mark Coleman. And by 1998, you had a daughter with your wife, who is Anne Halliday, who is mom. Real life, really authentic here, folks. So by 98, you had a daughter and a wife, and you had a responsibility to support your family. So you began writing Urinetown, and I read that you said it would be your last work.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't write Urinetown to take care of my family, because I didn't think it had any prospects, but I had done theater for a while, and I thought, let's just do one more show and then declare victory and then get a real job, is what the plan was.
So, according to the internet, here's the exact subtext of that. I told myself I tried to find a life in the theater and we had some fun. It was time to move on. The theater life, particularly our theater life, wasn't making us any money. I would just stick to location scouting and apply myself to making money with Urinetown. I thought, let's just have one last big laugh. So there you go.
They pull you back in.
So how did you get the idea for tonight's show, The End of All Flesh?
There were two things. First, Anne bought me a banjo, not this one, but one very much like it. And during COVID, I learned how to play it as best I could. So that's one thing that was happening. And the other thing that was happening during COVID was I wasn't going to the barber. And so my hair kept growing and my beard, I grew a beard and I became the thing you see today. And I thought, is there something fun we can do with banjo and a lot of hair? So. And Anne and I, we were actors once upon a time, like as you were. And then, parenthood and life took us away from that for the most part. And now we're at a stage where, like, maybe we can goof off like we did in our 20s, maybe. So we're thinking about that. This is part of that sort of experiment to see whether that's possible.
And also society collapse.
Oh yes, right. And society's collapsing, so we want to talk about that.
You wrote the book and lyrics for Urinetown and Yeast Nation, but for this show you wrote book, music, and lyrics, and you actually call this a play with music. Have you always been a musician, and is this your first time writing music?
Yeah, this is maybe the fourth play, and with music, and they have around the same structure, which is about 70 or 80 or 90 minutes, and they have somewhere between 10 and 15 songs, and like I'm not really a composer in the way that the other composers here are. It's not sophisticated music, it's just usually about the four chords that I know and maybe a few extra. But one thing I was telling one of the other book writers is to be involved in musicals, from the book writer's point of view, it always looks like the musicians are having a lot more fun. So I wanted to invite myself to that party, I guess.
So funny, somebody who thinks that his music isn't sophisticated, but wrote incredible lyrics in a story for Urinetown, with songs that we sing nearly almost every day, like Run Free to Run, and It's a Privilege to Pee, and things like that. And it's funny, it's like you went from Officer Lockstock to Old Man Strong during the pandemic, right? The End of All Flesh was first developed by Seacoast Summer Reading Sessions and the Players Ring with the support of the Mark Baum Estate. However, this is the first time that the work is being presented in New York City. Your entire cast, including you, were part of the reading you did this summer at the Players Ring in New Hampshire. What did you learn there, and what was the reception like from the audience?
Well, it was the first time we were presenting it to an audience completely, and it felt seaworthy. It felt like, oh, okay, there's something here. We got a great response. So one thing, as a writer, you absorb the energy from the audience, and you can feel where it feels okay, and where, I guess what I say is, I have two modes when I'm watching something that I've done. It's either nausea or the absence of nausea. So there was a lot of absence of nausea in Portsmouth, so that's what I learned. And also, I'm sure the other teams will say the same thing. When you're in communication with your cast and your musicians, and they teach you a tremendous amount too by just asking, what about this line? Why am I saying this thing here? And you have to answer it, and then you realize, oh right, that's not good. So then, same thing, like in this process, getting ready for this show, just talking with the musicians, both of them had fantastic ideas about, you know what, you're stopping here, but you really should stop here, and here are ideas. So anyway, it's just the collaborative process of both feeling the reaction from an audience, and then the specific verbalized reaction of the people that you're working with.
So the reading was successful because it was the opposite of nausea.
Yeah, it was numb, no feeling at all, and so that's the best feeling for me. So.
Noted. Lastly, what's next for the show?
Oh, I don't know. We have no prospects at all. So we would love just to keep working on it, have opportunities. That's what this is about. So thank you for the opportunity to present it to our first New York audience. And we'll just go wherever the love is. We're doing the thing where we send it out and find out what happens.
Well, our friends from Out of the Box Theatrics are here, and they produce incredible theater that is site-specific, literally outside of the box. So maybe they can find a mountaintop for you to put the show on.
Fantastic.
Anyway, that's Liz Fleming from Out of the Box. Anyway, hey Liz, how's it going? I bring up Liz because she's done incredible work, and we've done amazing things in this space together. So check out of the Box. Again, thank you so much, Greg, and the cast of The End of All Flesh. The final moment of the evening. Our final musical tonight is Sunken Cathedral, with book and lyrics by Taylor Fagans and music by Chase Urim. Oh, let's give him a bigger hand. With book and lyrics by Taylor Fagans and music by Chase Urim, Sunken Cathedral is a riveting reimagining of a Parisian folktale told in two separate worlds, with a dynamic score that fuses sea shanties and alternative rock. Within the fantastical world of the first act, the grief-driven desires of a king and a princess lead to the tragic sinking of their kingdom, while the second act parallels this in modern day through the estranged relationship of a homeless man struggling with dementia and his daughter. Together, these two worlds show us that grief cannot end until we embrace the love still present in our lives. Tonight's presentation is directed by Taylor Fagans, with music by Chase Urim and features performances by Morgan Dudley, Amanda Robles, and co-writer Taylor Fagans. Here is a really fierce show called Sunken Cathedral.
That they lost, and how one man's grief catapulted him into a fantastical delusion. This is the story of the Sunken Cathedral. Let's follow this man into his world. He is a king, searching for a way to bring his wife back.
Crashing down to the bed of the sea. Sunken Cathedral, rise from your bed, tell your story so you can live again.
We are now in a fantastical world of the Sunken Cathedral, where King Granlon and his daughter, Princess Dahoot, live in a kingdom built in the middle of the sea and surrounded by a gate made of stone. Granlon thinks that it's the best way to protect his daughter from death, but as Dahoot becomes an adult, she yearns to take her father's kingdom, gates, and finally find freedom. I've been stuck inside this kingdom since the day that I could see. I've been stuck inside this kingdom and I've never seen the sea. I can hear the ocean waves, I can smell the salty air. But if something's never seen, is it ever really there? I was born and raised in this cage of stone. Every passing day, this is all I've known. But now I want much more. Spread my wings and let me soar. Imagine me flying across the sea. Imagine me smiling, finally free. Taste that salty air, the wind through my hair. No more prison walls. One day my life will finally begin.
thinks I'm safe, but he'll never understand. What I want is to see the world and let my feet sink in the sand. Imagine me flying across the sea. Imagine me smiling, finally free. Taste that salty air, the wind through my hair. I wanna break these prison walls. One day my life will finally begin. Can you imagine? I wonder if my mother ever wanted to be free. 'Cause when I'm thinking of her, I feel the sea calling me. Imagine me flying. Imagine me smiling. Taste that salty air, the wind through my hair. No more prison walls. Then my life will finally begin. Can you imagine? Unfortunately, Darling DeHoop gets what she wants. She steals the key from Granlon, opens the stone gate, and unleashes a flood upon the entire kingdom, forcing them to confront each other.
DeHoop, what have you done?
You left me alone. You left me alone.
I've done all that I could do.
A mother I've never known, trapped in this wide stone. I just wanted you.
Don't know all of the ways
I just needed
to
you.
do what was best when your mother
The
died.
least you could ever do was enter I hope that I'm not alone.
I'm sorry.
As the flood rises, they leap into the water to escape, but they do not perish. Sweet Granlon awakens on the beach, once again a homeless man with dementia, willing to bargain if it means he can return to the freedom of his sunken cathedral. His daughter in the real world, Sarah, hopes she can bring him home.
Dad, you're staring at the ocean again. How are you feeling today?
It's going to happen. The Sunken Cathedral is going to rise.
Yes, of course, Dad. But why don't you come home with me tonight and we'll eat first? Maybe grab some fresh clothes and then we can come back.
The tide is low and the sky is clear. Let's wait for my wife, my queen, my love.
Okay. Let's try again tomorrow.
Sometimes I forget, but moments still hit me in waves. Like the day that we came here, stumbled upon this cave. It's the cave where you promised that you never leave my side. But little by little, I'm drifting away like the tide. But when the wind blows, I can hear it. And when the sun glows, that's your smile. And when the clouds come, I can feel you. So when my kingdom floats up from the sea, you will be with me again. Then we can soar over oceans on a magical stallion away from the storm again. Then we can live on an island with no interruptions, just us and our son. Wait, daughter, son or a daughter, yes, we had a daughter. God, no, not again. I'm forgetting again. I'm forgetting again, and I'm scared that I might forget you.
That's your smile, and when the clouds come, I can feel you.
Dad?
So when my kingdom floats up from the sea,
Dad?
you will be with me again.
Who are you talking to?
Get off of me, who are you?
I'm your daughter.
You're not my wife.
Dad, it's your daughter.
I don't have a daughter!
Dad!
Oh, sorry, to whom? I didn't...
My name is Sarah.
I'm sorry.
The more he reaches for me, the more he loses his reality and forgets our daughter. Sarah and her father struggle to accept what they lost. But Sarah comes very close to seeing what they need.
Why do I keep doing this? He made it plain, he made it clear. If he doesn't need me, what the hell am I doing here? Why do I keep going back? Thought it would be changed, now I'm unsure. If he doesn't love me, what the hell am I trying for? All I ever wanted was to be free. I believed that maybe love is the key. If all I wanted was a reprieve from this grief, then maybe this isn't love. Maybe love is a waste of time. If I don't feel it doesn't exist, if I left forever, would I find all the love I've missed? All I ever wanted was to believe, I believe that maybe love was the key. If all I wanted was a reprieve from this grief, then maybe this isn't. When my mother died, she wasn't truly gone. She gave me this proof that she lives on. Maybe he's not gone, maybe he's still there. Maybe this is proof that he's somewhere. I thought he was gone, I thought he didn't care. Maybe this is proof that love is there. Maybe what we have isn't what we had, but maybe this is love. Is that so bad? He's still my dad. All I ever needed to finally be free was to see the love that we have is the key. If all I needed to finally find peace was to see that maybe this is love. Maybe this is love.
This is a story of love. It's also a story of loss, and how both in the fantastical world and the real world, grief cannot end until we truly embrace the love still present in our lives. This is the story of the Sunken Cathedral.
Sunken Cathedral, hearts by the sea, waves crashing down the bed of the sea. Sunken Cathedral, rise from your bed, tell your story, so you can live again.
Awesome, let's give it up one more time for Sunken. Hi, so this is Taylor and this is Chase. I had the privilege of meeting both of them at Berkeley NYC in the Writing and Design program for musical theater. They were the first, I was invited by the amazing Julianne McDavis to come and listen to the pitches of these students in this incredible new program. And this was the first team that I got to experience, and immediately I was like, oh shit, I hope everyone's as good. Or this exciting. I was immediately excited by them, by the way they performed the material, by the way they communicated the material, and I was immediately excited by the juxtaposition of these two worlds. Is Sunken Cathedral your first musical, and is the Berkeley program the impetus for your collaboration?
Yeah, do you want to...
No, you go.
Okay. Sunken Cathedral is not my first musical. However, no, not like that, it's not weird. No, but Sunken Cathedral is not my first musical. I think it's like maybe number 4? It doesn't matter, But the impetus for collaboration, yes, was like, us meeting each other at school at Berkeley NYC. Literally, we decided to collaborate on a song, much like Parade and Sequoia. We met each other at orientation, and I was like, I have an idea for a song. And Chase was like, okay. And I was like, here's 4 chords, let's figure it out. And he was like, okay. And then we did, and it was amazing. And then after that, he had this amazing idea for this musical about a sunken cathedral and this Parisian folktale and doing something amazing with it. And he had all this cool music, and I was like, oh, I know the story for that. And he was like, oh. And I was like, I'll write the book. And he was like, oh. And then we kind of like worked on musical together. So yeah.
It was such like a succinct, like we just kind of got into each other's heads so quickly when we first started collaborating. So then once we finally like established that we were going to write a show together, it was just, our writing sessions just became so fluid, so easy, and so much just fun. Like we just really had a good time doing it. So we just became naturally good friends and collaborators. Yeah.
And that's so totally the energy that I picked up on when I first met them. Also, I work at the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts. We have some students here tonight, and in one of my performance project classes, our students are working on When the Wind Blows, which is very exciting, and it's a wonderful song. Well, I was going to ask you this next question, but you kind of answered it, but maybe there's some stuff to connect to it. What led you to a story inspired by the legend of the city of Ys, a mythical French city on the coast of Brittany that was swallowed up by the ocean?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I played, there's a WC piece called Sunken Cathedral. I had played the piece and I was like, oh, my piano teacher started kind of telling me about the story, and I was like, oh, this is fascinating. Like, I would love to tell a story about it. Then before I went to Berkeley, I just kind of messed around with kind of like an alternative rock, random sea shanty type of vibe. And then you came over to my place one time, and I was like, oh, I've got to show you this song for the show we were talking about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the idea came from.
Yeah, and then I think the cool part about it was when he played me the piece that he wrote, which is fully our opening number to this day, which you only got a snippet of it. But I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this would be such a beautiful allegory for homelessness. I don't know why, but I have an uncle in my family who actually is homeless. And I was like, wow, this would be really interesting to like really focus on this idea of somebody who sees something that we don't see, and like what's their perspective? Like, why do they see that thing? What is so important about this thing? How does it connect to their heart and what they go through on a daily basis? Because I can bet you $100 not everybody's walking around as somebody homeless and asking them their perspective all the time. But yeah, when I heard that music, I was like, I think we can delve into something really deep and really important with like this sound and this music, and I think it would be really cool, really epic, and really heartfelt all at the same time. Yeah.
So you came up with the source material, and then you had this really great idea that sort of explored the juxtaposition of fantasy, family dynamics, homelessness, and dementia.
Yeah.
How did you get to dementia through that sort of portal?
Yeah, I mean, I have multiple family members who also struggle with dementia, and I think that for me, I know a lot of homeless people, and a lot of people, part of the homeless community, struggle with mental health and mental illness, and dementia and other things like it are a huge part of that. And so, again, I don't know, I think it was for me, it was like, what's the source of that? Like, what do you remember? What's the thing that you hold on to? What's that piece that's most important to you? Not only as someone a part of the homeless community, but someone who feels like they're losing everything. Like, what's the thing that always stays and that you're always chasing after? And that's kind of how dementia kind of came into the mix.
Interesting. You're examining a lot of things that the society doesn't want us to talk about or think about.
Yeah.
It's making me think a little bit of a musical that Hunter Bird and Oliver Hauser are writing about addiction. And their sort of thesis is the opposite of addiction is connection.
Come on.
So there's some parallels there, right? Watch out for that show. Lastly, what is next for this show?
Anything, please. But honestly, we've had like awesome. We're already working on a more specific draft, a new draft. We're trying to honestly just do it as many times as we can, as many iterations. Because I remember the first time we wrote it, I was like, this is like LED screen, big budget, like everything. But I remember we got a comment that was like, you know, it's a show that is good and a show that is important is one that can be done anyway. It doesn't matter. It's the story that survives. It's not the way you do it. So I think a big part of what we're trying to do is like, let's do it as many times as we can in many different ways and see what sticks, see what works. And at the same time, we've also been looking into writing a TV series version of the show because that would be so cool. Yeah.
Awesome. So really, I'm spraying all kinds of smells. So really, the magic is about what's on the page.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, cool. Yeah. Well, I've got a great phrase for you to work in for some applications about this. Limitation is creation.
Come on.
And really, less is more.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sunken Cathedral. Well, that's our show for tonight. However, this is the most exciting part. New York Theater Barn is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and if you liked what you saw tonight, you can donate by text. The number to give is 631-710-NYTB. That's 631-710-6982. You can vote for Kelly or Clay, whoever you want. I just dated myself back to the first one, I just realized.
We want a performance. Clay, come on.
Some people take a lifetime.
Or you can make a donation on our website at nytheaterbarn.org/give. We have a small but dedicated team who make a lot happen with very little and always deliver high quality work.
That's right. And I'd also like to thank Newark Series line producer Kimberly Laura. Managing director Kate Trammell. These are people who speak together at 3 in the morning on text messages about everything that's happening. Artistic associate Pals Max. Our incredible staff and board of directors, some who are here, and the interpreters from Inclusive Communication Services. And every time I'm over here speaking so quickly and seeing them out of the corner of my eye, all I can do is hear my father telling me, Joe, slow down, slow down. And thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on Indigenous Peoples Day.
And thank you for supporting live theater and the development of original musicals. Good night. Also want to say no flies were harmed during this production.